Formally wish good morning to all in Harrisall and welcome to those joining us online. I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Lane County Board of Commissioners to order. It's Tuesday, April 8th, 2025. Today, or tomorrow rather, is National Prisoner War Recognition Day. So I want to give you a thought today. After spending 9 days in the desert without food in a simulated prisoner of war camp, I got a heart for those who are actually imprisoned and persevered in foreign lands under captivity. I'm reminded of the story of Mike Christian, a 17-year-old kid from Selma, Alabama, who joined the Navy and eventually became an aviator and was shot down in 1967. The POW camp occasionally allowed personal articles mailed from family members to be given to the prisoners, to which Mike took pieces of cloth, and with a bamboo fashioned needle, he sewed a small American flag inside of his shirt. Every day he would hang the shirt up on a nail and the POWs would say the Pledge of Allegiance. But one day it was found out by a guard and Mike Christian was beaten severely until his eyes nearly swelled shut. That evening he was found in the corner of the bunk room once again fashioning a new American flag and another shirt. This story was told to me by late John McCain. So tomorrow we'd like to honor our prisoners of war that served overseas, those who survived and those who did not. Good morning to my esteemed colleagues. I'm honored to serve alongside each one of you. Thank you for your service to this county. Please note we are down, as you can see, one county commissioner. My Vice Chair, Ryan Senega, is at our nation's capital for the United Front event. Therefore, I'm going to be looking today, my colleagues, for who wants to battle to make motions and seconds today. So get yourselves all ready. And good morning to you, Mr. Mokrycki. How are you, sir?
Good morning. Thank you, Chair.
You look great as always. Any adjustments to our agenda, sir?
No, none from staff.
Great. Any emergency business?
Excuse me, Chair.
Yes.
I'd like to make two adjustments to the agenda if I could. One is that I request that we move item 10B, commissioners' comments or other remonstrance, up to immediately follow public comment this morning.
We've taken head nods as in the past. Has any head nods changed since the last time we talked about this? Seeing none, we'll continue. Your second, please.
The other is just would love to insert a 1-minute moment to again welcome our new County Council, Rob Bovet, and ask Chair if you wouldn't mind giving him the mic for a moment just to share with folks. We've had a lot of big crowds turn out. Sometimes folks bring materials. There was an item left on the dais for commissioners this morning, and he wanted to offer a little bit of comment about sort of protocol and process for getting items or materials directly to commissioners and what his role is, because it's new that we have our county council joining us. With your indulgence, would you mind giving the mic to the county council for a moment?
County Council, are you okay with that, or you want to do it now or later? It's up to you, sir.
I am certainly happy to,
Hey,
Mr.
please
Chair.
proceed.
Again, thank you for welcoming me here. I've been here now, I think, a little over a month as your new county council. Every county is different. A favorite county judge of mine once was quoted as saying, if you've seen one Oregon County, you've seen one Oregon County. I've worked for a number of Oregon counties in my 33-year career as a county lawyer. Everybody does a little different. So I'm glad you're allowing me to be present here. I also note that generally speaking, some other counties also have a board clerk available, and you don't have that. So I intend to, with your permission, fulfill that function for you as well as a board clerk, which means I sit over to the side, and for those in the audience, if you're providing testimony during public input and you have something you want distributed to the board, I'm your Johnny on the spot. So just leave it at the corner of the table. I'll pick it up, do any distributions. If you leave something that needs to really get to a department, essentially one of my clients, I'm happy to distribute that as well. So you've probably been noticing me quietly. Those of you attend regularly, quietly, I just kind of pick up everything and distribute it as it is so we can maintain some decorum, much like a courtroom, and not have people kind of walking up to the dais and such. So I'll be your court clerk as well, Mr. Chair, if that's acceptable.
We appreciate that very much, and you have already raised the bar so high, I pity the person who follows in your footsteps, sir. So thank you again.
Thank you for that, and thank you, Council. And if anyone has an item for board, for commissioners, not in relation to public comment, but just an item or anything that they want to get to commissioners directly, as I mentioned, there was something left on the dais for each of us this morning. What's the best way for folks to do that, please?
I basically just leave it for me. I've got a nice little table over here that they set up for me so I can perform my duties, and it's big, and I can receive anything you want to deliver to the commissioners, or quite frankly to any department heads of the county that you need delivered, whether it be letters, items, whatever it happens to be. That's what I'm here for.
Great, thank you very much. Mr. Mokrycki, any emergency business left to take care of?
No.
All right, super. We're going to go on to our item number 3, our public comments. Public can speak here in person at Harris Hall or online. Time is limited to 3 minutes. We'll ask that you please watch the clock on the screen and stop at the 3-minute mark so we can be fair to everyone. You can also submit public comments via our website in writing at least 24 hours ahead of our meeting to be included in the weekly meeting packet. We respect your First Amendment rights as a tool to address your government with grievances and opinions, but we also admonish all to do so in a civil manner and to be respectful expressing yourself. And as a board chair, I wish to request public commenters to please eliminate direct and personal attacks to particular board members in these public testimony times, as they seem to be unproductive in really addressing the real and important issues the constituents are raising to our attention. So when you come to the podium, this podium right here, please state your name for the record, and time will begin. Our first person on the docket is Brian Matthews, followed by Amy Ansa.
Good morning, Chairman Lovell and distinguished commissioners. Love the opportunity to speak. In recent months, I've been here a few times, and I come primarily today to stand in opposition to the request for, the trans LGBTQ request for, the asylum. And it's not because I'm an enemy. I believe everybody should. In this country, we have freedom. That's a big deal. And so, I've got no personal grind with anybody, but we live in a constitutional republic that provides us with equal rights. And for a small segment of the community to ask for special rights just seems objectively wrong. So I again, I got, in my Metron, my friend circle, my family circle, I got everybody. Okay, so I'm not a hater. Just want to put that on record. I'm just looking for right, just, and fair for everybody in the community, and I'm appealing to you commissioners to make objective decisions and not subjective. So, what's good for the whole. I was talking to a young man this morning. We have present with us Owen. He's a student at the U of O, sports journalism, I believe, but he's here for the school newspaper. And, I commend him for for being here, so we're all going to be reported on. Just, anyway, moment of levity possibly, but right, just, and fair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Amy Anza, followed by Buck Mueller, I believe. Hard to read, but please correct me when you come to the podium. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Amy Ansa. I live in Commissioner Traeger's district. I am here on behalf of Transponder, which is a wonderful organization that I'm very proud to work with. It's one of the many different hats that I wear. I'm the board secretary, and it is wonderful, wonderful organization. Transponder is a transgender founded and led nonprofit here in Eugene, providing support, resources, and education for the transgender and gender diverse community and our allies. Our mission is to foster healthy communities through wellness programs, support meetings, socials, and special events, trans-inclusive resources, and training and consultation services to improve the lives and outcomes of LGBTQIA2S people, emphasizing trans and gender diverse Oregonians. It almost feels like fate that I came out as my authentic self in 2012. Transponder, incidentally, was founded in the backyard of some dedicated community members right around the same time. So it's an honor to be working with them. Never before have I ever had the pleasure to work with such a dedicated and amazing group of people as those who work and volunteer at Transponder. I invite you to reach out, all of you, to reach out and connect with us. Education is at the core of what Transponder does, and if you have questions, we would love nothing more to work with you to get answers, and that goes with everybody. Transponder serves everyone from the trans and queer folks who are fighting every day for their lives and their basic rights to be recognized and affirmed, to the 1,450 households that Transponder served last year in its free food program. Transponder knows that attacks on transgender healthcare are attacks on all healthcare, and Transponder is proud to use its voice to speak up for the protections of those who need it the most in our community, and this also includes the immigrant communities who are also under attack. We are excited to be working with the county and are looking forward to the county's affirmation of trans, queer, and immigrant rights in Lane County. Thank you.
Thank you. Buck Mueller, followed by Emily Heilburn, please. Thank you.
Greetings. My name is Buck Mueller. I have a feeling this 3 minutes is going to go by very quickly. So I've lived in Eugene since 1978. Came here right out of college. So pretty much my whole adult life. My career has been here, my marriage, my family, stepkids, grandkids, and I actually have some great-grandkids, step-great-grandkids. I'm very grateful to be able to live in this great place. I would also say I'm kind of a chronic do-gooder. I've been in lots of different groups that have tried to do charitable work and community building. And since religion is coming up a lot, I will also mention that I am the son of a Lutheran minister, and both of my grandfathers were also Lutheran ministers, so it's kind of a miracle that I am not. I'm not exactly a churchgoer currently, but I would say that the values that I grew up with, I have carried through life, and I'm trying to live those values in a very complicated world. I want to address, kind of the political situation in the country and who is being impacted. Things seem pretty dire to me. I am probably not going to be impacted a whole lot compared to others. I do have a stepdaughter who has mental illness, who is probably going to lose a lot of benefits, which she needs all of those benefits. I'm not sure what we're going to do. But the people who are really going to suffer are the marginalized people, poor people, immigrants, racial minorities, the young, rural dwellers, women, and all of those people who don't fit into the tidy gender roles that we have. I am in none of those groups, but those people matter to me, and they should matter to all of us. I don't get the animosity towards any of those people. They have never harmed me or prevented me from having anything that I need. So I'm here to encourage all of you in your official duties and everyone to approach your fellow man with love and woman and other. I wanted to read just a little bit of some song lyrics by Bruce Coburn. I saw him in concert recently. He's a Christian, and this song shocked me with its challenge. The just, the merciful, the cruel, the stumbling, well-intentioned fool, the deaf, the oaf, the witless pawn, the golden one life smiles upon, the squalling infant in mid-squall, the neighbors fighting down the hall. The list is long, as I recall. Our order said to love them all.
Thank you. Your time's up. Emily Heilburn, followed by Denise Searcy, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Emily Heilbrunn. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a resident of Lane County in Eugene. On the county's website, under Health and Human Services, on the public health page, it says, our mission is to promote and protect the long-term health and well-being of individuals, families, and our community. Our vision is optimal health for all people in Lane County. When we ask that the county commit to continuing to provide care to trans people, we are not asking for special rights for them. We are saying that, like everyone else, a trans patient should be able to receive the care determined necessary by their physician. Excuse me. That care should not be cut off by the government inserting itself in the doctor-patient relationship. We ask that you take the necessary steps to protect life-saving, medically necessary, gender-affirming care in Lane County. Providing that care is part of promoting and protecting, quote, the long-term health and well-being of individuals, families, and our community. Please also make a strong statement that the county will follow Oregon's Sanctuary Promise Act. As you know, many immigrants are very fearful now. Some are not even sending their children to school. A statement from the county would provide some reassurance to these hardworking, tax-paying members of our community. Thank you.
Good deal. Thank you. Denise Searcy, followed by Anna Lardner.
Good morning. My name is Denise Searcy. I am a mother, a grandmother, and a great-grandmother. I have 2 grandchildren that identify as gay and trans. I love them with all my heart since the day they were born, and still to this day. This has been a great source of pain for them as well as for me and the rest of the family. I wonder if this community has considered what it is like for us. They call it dead naming for a reason. The fact is my heart is broken for my grandchildren and for the community. They have gone through experiences of rejection and dishonor, but I am equally dismayed that it often seems in order for me not to be labeled a hater or a homophobe, transphobe, I need to support every choice or behavior that they might endorse. Love is not contingent upon agreeing with somebody. There's a lie that says to love me, you have to agree with me. We are precious children made in the image of God, deserving love and respect, but love and respect doesn't mean endorsement of choices we disagree on. Telling the truth to a person is not unloving. God has created us in his image and he loves us with a relentless love. And there are several major religions that recognize binary understandings of gender, male and female. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. It is clear that we can only exist through the creative force of a being much higher and on a completely different spiritual level than human beings. As much as I love my grandchildren, for these reasons I cannot agree with the ideologies they embrace or with their choices and behaviors. I cannot violate my conscience or God's truth and the reality of science. We are made with XX or XY chromosomes. It is ingrained in every cell through our DNA. With all sincerity, I am asking the Lane County Board of Commissioners to exercise critical thinking and common sense to protect the citizens from this expectation of costly preferential treatment and vote no for the proposal. While I have the same heart for their community that I have for my own family, this is fiscally and morally wrong for the people who live in Lane County. This is about being lawful and fiscally responsible for the people in your care. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anna Lardner, followed by Sherry Jones, please.
Good morning, Commissioners, and good morning, everyone in attendance today. Last Saturday, I was at the April 5th Hands Off rally that was held by City Hall, which explains this tiny patch of sunburn I have right here on the top of my forehead. I missed that spot. It was a really, really fun event, and there were lots of people that showed up there to state their support for a lot of different issues across the county. I was really struck by the number of folks who were there, not just supporting some of the issues that we've talked about today, but the connection between those issues, such as trans rights and immigrants' rights, to the broader social fabric of our community and our nation. Which is a really great segue to talk a little bit about this concept of special rights, because I understand that that is something that is reasonably of concern to different people in the audience. And I understand that that would not be something that we are asking for. And that's the truth of it. We're not asking for special rights. What we're asking for are the same rights that everyone else has. The rights that when we go to a doctor's office, when we go out into the world and try to live our lives, that the government and our healthcare providers are able to afford us the same level of acknowledgement, respect, and treatment that they would give any other patient. And it's not the government's place to decide what sort of healthcare is objectionable or not objectionable. There might be some people who are, please let me speak, please don't interrupt me, I didn't interrupt you. There might be some people in this country who object to different healthcare for mental health conditions, for disability, for autism, for different forms of very expensive life-saving care. Sometimes that care may not even have a high probability of success, and yet the government funds that. The government is there to provide services and money such that people can get that life-saving care regardless of whether it is quote-unquote cost-effective, regardless of whether it is something that people object to or don't object to. And that's something that I really want the Board of County Commissioners to consider, that when those 3,500 people showed up to support all these varied issues, that they were waving transgender flags, that they were holding monarch butterflies for immigrants, that all of these issues are connected, and that the same protections that I am asking for today and that other people are asking for in these statements are the protections that also protect other groups. For example, Christians. If we were to find ourselves in an administrative climate, like for instance a more Democrat climate, that was maybe slightly less tolerant of a specific religion, we want those protections for everybody, and that includes trans people and immigrants right now. The same thing will be true in the future. Thank you so much for hearing me, and I look forward to your statement in the next few weeks.
Thank you, Anna. Sherry Jones, followed by Bill Compton.
Thank you very much. My name's Sherry Jones. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a resident of Eugene, Oregon, in Commissioner Farr's district. I wanted to thank you, Commissioner Lovell, for bringing up veterans and POWs. My brother-in-law served 2 tours in Vietnam. I have always been an extremely peace-loving person, and when he introduced me to some of his fellow veteran friends, it opened up my heart to something that I had close to because I was, fighting war around, and just by listening to those stories and actually traveling with them to Vietnam, I learned something new about people that I had originally hardened my heart toward. So I just want to thank you for bringing that up. Regarding sanctuary for our immigrants and transgender community, I want to please ask you to continue to listen to our citizens of Lane County. Listen to the trans adults and parents of trans kids. I'm the parent of a trans adult and their partner. I love them also with all my heart, and nothing will ever get in my way for me to fight for them and for their rights. Equal rights for all means all, including transgender folks and all those living in this country, whether they're immigrants or citizens. Please stand up for what folks in your county want. We've made it clear we want to protect not only our immigrant communities, but also our community of transgender folks. People means human beings. People are the Lane County human beings that we all love and care about. Please finalize the county inclusion of transgender people and protections for including healthcare protections for all people, transgender people, as you would also for everyone else. Please don't fall for the rhetoric that is dehumanizing immigrants and transgender folks. We really are truly all one. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Next is Bill Compton, followed by Tersa Spar, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. The founder of Cornerstone Leadership Consulting, several years ago, I decided that I would do a little bit of research into leadership. And I want to let you know that no matter what decision you make, it's going to be wrong to somebody. But I do appreciate the sacrifices that you make in listening and carefully working through the issues. I also appreciate the gentlemen that serve Lane County Commissioners. let me recall just a few things that I shared last week that I didn't get to finish. On April 11th, in the afternoon meeting, the land management director gave a proposal to increase, to make an increase of 22.5% for the permit fee schedule. And he did an excellent job of presenting great information. According to the director, and I quote, he said, "This is an increase across the board. It is a major reset of our fee structure." And he also said, quote, "This is a bad time to request an increase." And I would agree with that in light of the tariff situation. Building materials, if you haven't noticed, if you go to Jerry's, that's where I go, they're going skyrocketing. So the cost to build a building is going to be much more painful in the near future. I'm considering building an ADU. And thank you, Donald Trump, for making it much more challenging. I would ask that you would consider some of the things that they shared. He said that they had a 12-month reserve. I asked the question, does Lane County Sheriff's Office have a kind of reserve available to them? I'm not sure. I haven't heard. These funds are dedicated for the LMD. So if they do receive that 22.5%, they're dedicated for their work only, not for other Lane County types of interests and needs. My question would be, when the Public Safety Task Force comes back with information about how to support Lane County, will those funds be dedicated for the Sheriff's Office and for the District Attorney? I think that's so critical, because remember, that was priority number one in the survey that Lane County citizens requested, and it was put together and presented. And so, as was asked, will you put Lane County's interests first? I hope that you do that. Will they receive a 22.5% increase in the budget? Sir, I don't think so. Will they secure dedicated funds for the Sheriff's Office and District Attorneys? That's a choice that you could make. I really appreciate what you do. There's hard decisions to be made in the budgeting process. I hope that priority number one would be dedicated funds for LCSO and the District Attorney's Office. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Compton. Tersa Spar, followed by Steve Buss.
Hi, my name is Tirsa Spar. This is my first time coming forward, and I don't know how this is going to go, but I'm here speaking today from my experience as a Caucasian cisgendered female. I have been living in Eugene since 2016, and I've been happy to call it home since I've been here. I have felt a great sense of belonging and acceptance since moving to Eugene. I moved here from Utah, where the religion there is deeply rooted in all aspects of life, from politics, education, and especially in all of just the social circles that exist. Having come from a state that has that limited religious diversity, I can speak to the effects of how that negatively impacts people inside the group and outside of the group. I'm not going to go into that today, but just knowing that that is there. Part of what I'm coming to today is to talk about the difference between Utah and Eugene and what has made Eugene very special to me. I believe that one of the huge components of what has made Eugene great is that that feeling of acceptance towards the diversity that exists here. That diversity includes all walks of life, different orientations, including religion, gender, race, and others. And it feels important to me that this maintain its case. And it feels like that diversity is being threatened on multiple fronts at this time. Where we are seeing people being deported, we are seeing trans rights being threatened. I appreciate that it sounds like we are moving towards making the public statement of Lane County maintaining its sanctuary status. and that feels important to me. And I thank you for considering this and making an effort to make this happen. I would also like to bring up how addressing gender-affirming care is also a way of protecting the diversity that exists within this community. Attacks on trans healthcare is an attack on all healthcare. From what I hear from others, this is not a specific request for additional rights, just desire to maintain rights that have been there and are being threatened. My rights are presently not on the chopping block at this time, but I do feel a need to speak up for the rights of others. We are stronger as a part of this community, and as a part of this community, I ask that we protect what it is that we have. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you very much. Steve Buss, followed by Austin Hodges. Okay. And we are down to Austin. Thank you. And after that, Gene Weber, please.
How's it going? My name is Austin Hodges. Well, I'm coming here first as a man of God, a proud Christian, and a proud father to 2 daughters, soon to be a 3rd one. And I'm kind of coming here more disgruntled, I would say, as to what my kids are being exposed to in this school system. Long story short, I just got full custody of my daughter, which is pretty hard. Moved her from Arizona up here 3 months ago and couldn't get her into the private Christian school that we wanted to, so we had no choice but to let her go to public school. I went to school with her on Friday because she was struggling, and I made the executive decision as her father to pull her out of the public school system because of what was in that school system. She's in 6th grade, and her first teacher was saying that she was a hawk and making her kids call her they, them, identifying as a hawk. Like, you want to have that kind of stuff at your house and do that on your time, great. Having my kid or other kids that are that young, molding that young generation to do so is insane. That's disgusting in my opinion. Not only that, but I took it upon myself to kind of go scout around the library of that school, and there was over 827 pornographic novels in a middle school affirming the LGBTQ community. And some of those books have materials such as intercourse between gay couples. It has how do you feel about being on the whatever it's called, binary spectrum with no gender, stuff that doesn't make sense. And it's like, we're putting this in our schools for our elementary, for our middle, for our high school, for what? You guys want to have, I don't agree with changing the safety of 98% of your town, 98% of your county or country for 2% of people. You know, until 1973, being gay or trans or whatever was considered a mental illness. And it's like, I think we need to keep that as what it is and the truth. And, you know, I'm here as a father first because I don't think it's okay that this stuff is almost being forced down my children's throat. And it's just, you know, there's 2 sides of the coin, you know. They want to be seen, they want to be heard, but there's a different way to do it. I want to be seen, I want to be heard. And you don't see me out there doing this stuff, pushing my stuff down people's throats, attacking children. There's a reason why they're attacking children, and that's because children are so easily moldable. And I want to remind you again of what Matthew 18:6 says in the Bible, that those that cause the Lord's children to stumble, it's greater for them to have a millstone strapped around their neck and thrown in the deepest depths of the ocean. So I pray that you guys can really have discernment and understand that you're not only fighting for protection of your whole county, and I think that the greater good of the people should be above that 2% of people that are struggling. Thank you.
Thank you. Gene Weber, followed by A. Frost.
Good morning, Gene Weber. Thank you, Dave Lovell, for doing what you do, and all you people that are here serving Lane County. I am a believer in the Bible, and the Bible is clearly speaks of love, joy, and peace. I don't care who you are. I play pickleball with probably 50, 60 people a day. I will talk to anybody and everybody. It doesn't matter to me. I love you, no matter who you are, what you say, what you do. I love God, and he loves me. Because God loves me, he loves you, every one of you. There's nobody that's left out. God's love, like I say, brings joy, peace, and love. There's nothing like it. If you ever become a believer in Jesus, you'll never be the same. He's given me platforms that I never thought that I would ever have. I'm 82. I've lived a long life. I don't know how much longer I'll be here. I believe God's got me here for a purpose. And this purpose is today to tell you guys that Jesus loves you. If you want to ask Jesus to come into your life, you can do it any place, any time. Just say, Jesus, forgive me of my sins, and he will forgive you. And there's a place, heaven and hell. I'll tell you right now, I don't want you to go to hell. Heaven is a real place. I love you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. A. Frost, followed by Amanda Noble Flannery.
Commissioners, I'm here. I've been here a few times. I've had some land stolen from me. I had someone perjure themselves in the court system several times. No one cares. Apparently that's a civil issue, lying in your court system. System which is unrecorded, by the way. That's very odd. I was coming here to talk about that, but I actually have to draw my attention's been drawn to other issues. Now, if you were to go watch the SciShow, it's a YouTube channel, very educational. They've got one on gender, and the fact that you can't tell me that there's two genders, only two genders. I'm sorry, scientifically speaking, it's not accurate. There's a condition called intersex condition. There are many, many types of gender that are not the normal that we all grew up to believe in when we were being miseducated as kids. We got it wrong. We can admit it. There's more than two genders out there. There's people that look female, that are genetically male, and we don't want to have this as a beauty competition or anything else, which is what it turns into. So I cede my time. Good luck.
Thank you. Amanda Noble Flannery, followed by David Eigel.
Good morning. My name is Amanda Noble Flannery. My pronouns are she, her. I'm speaking today as part of the Trans Alliance of Lane County and as a resident of Eugene. As I've shared in my previous public comments, I'm here advocating for immigrant and trans protections in light of the recent and abhorrent federal executive orders and actions. Thank you for the work staff is doing to prepare the draft statement and list of commitments for review later this month. Today, I want to specifically talk about Trans Day of Visibility, which was March 31st. Trans Day of Visibility is a day to celebrate the lives and contributions of trans people. It was created in 2010 by trans advocate Rachel Crandall in response to the overwhelming majority of media stories about transgender people being focused on violence. She hoped to create a day where people could celebrate the lives of transgender people while simultaneously acknowledging that due to discrimination, not every trans person can or wants to be visible. A lot has changed since the first Trans Day of Visibility in 2010, some for the better, but unfortunately over the last 2.5 months, things have really tanked. As you've heard from trans community members and allies, consistently attending and providing public comment at these meetings for months. You've heard from youth, elders, clergy, medical professionals, mental health practitioners, teachers, parents, and grandparents of trans children, friends, and coworkers, sharing in great detail the fear, anguish, and pleas for Lane County to speak up and to provide reassurance. And while I know we have high hopes for the draft statement and list of commitments that is in the works, can you imagine my disappointment on March 31st that Lane County provided no acknowledgement that I could find to mark Trans Day of Visibility? The day before, Lane County Socials proudly acknowledged National Doctors Day, so these kind of acknowledgements is something that can be done. The lack of acknowledgement of Trans Day of Visibility shows a disconnect. It would take about 5 minutes to create a post, not to minimize the importance of the acknowledgement, but when something this simple goes undone, it makes me wonder, what is holding you back? From the months of testimony, what is sinking in for you? I'm genuinely asking. What haven't we done that you need to hear? What will connect the dots for you and help you see that your leadership is needed in this moment? And because you've moved your response to public comment to the afternoon, which I find perplexing, I'll be sure to watch online to hear your response. Thank you.
Thank you. David Eigel, followed by Sidney Johnstone.
David Eigel. Good morning. As the Lane County Fair approaches again, it is important that this opportunity to inform the public about the mountain of publicly funded misinformation that they have been subjected to regarding our heritage in Lane County and the state of Oregon is exposed. The Racing to Change exhibit at the Lane County Fair contained misinformation piled on misinformation. It included a deceitful attack by name on the clergy of Lane County and many of our other outstanding citizens. Dystopian fantasy was presented as history. The Reverend Frederick Jennings of St. Mary's Episcopal Church was portrayed as the member of a violent white supremacist Klan. The authentic history is that there was no violent white supremacist Klan here in the 20s. There was a chapter of the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan Fraternal Order. Its primary espoused social goal in Oregon was support for prohibition enforcement, not the oppression of the few black citizens. The 1920 census listed only 13 black residents in all of Lane County. Their presence did not concern the white residents. The Reverend Jennings was actually an opponent of this Klan. Jennings, as a member of the Eugene School Board, publicly exposed and actively opposed the efforts that caused the Catholic school teachers to not be rehired in 1924. Yet, the Racing to Change exhibit presented him as an active member. How did I find out about this information when so many others, including PhDs in history, are getting it wrong? I approached the subject with an open mind and a desire to get at the truth, whatever that truth might be. I hardly think I deserve a Nobel Prize for research techniques I employed among other techniques. I read the newspapers from this period. It is there in black and white. Likewise, the fiction of the Ferry Street Bridge community that is now being misrepresented. Likewise, the fiction of Frederick Dunn the Klansman, a crackpot narrative that was invented and first published in 1992 after those who had known Dunn were no longer here to defend him. The information needed to expose Dunn the Klansman fiction is included in his collection of newspaper clippings in the U of O archives. The U of O Dunn Report authors claim to have studied these. The public is entitled to publicly funded truth, not lies. With this in mind, I ask each of you to use your influence. You're funding the Lane County History Museum. That's where most of its money comes from. And I think you have a right to call for accountability and that the public be informed of the truth, not lies, demonstrated lies. You need to take affirmative action. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Eigel. Sidney Johnston, followed by Rose Wildy.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Sidney Johnstone. I'm from Detroit, Michigan, a ethnic and culturally diverse community. I've lived in Oregon now for over 15 years. I'm here today to talk about our city and my concern about its safety. I believe that our city is already facing a housing and safety problem. And the challenges that we face are not going to be solved quickly or with a lot of political rhetoric. Perhaps most of you who want so desperately for our fair city of Eugene to become a sanctuary city for unvetted and illegal aliens who have crossed into our borders illegally have no idea what you're inviting in. You obviously have not considered how this might impact our crime rate. Did you not hear that most of the world's hardened criminals have illegally entered our nation, many of whom have been released from the worst penitentiaries, many of whom are violent gang members? This is not a joke, and I'm thinking many of you who want Eugene to be a sanctuary city have no idea what you're asking because you haven't lived firsthand in a crime-ridden, economically depressed city with violent criminals and gangbangers like I have. I've had guns pointed to my head multiple times. I'm here today to say we don't want it. Where is the logic behind this insanity? I believe we should have an ethnic and diverse community of vetted immigrants. I'm not against that. How do you think that being a sanctuary city will be positive for our city? Right now, calling the sheriff has an extended wait time. I had to call the sheriff on some neighbors behind me who were spraying their child down with a hose in the middle of winter. And the sheriff never came. We don't have enough sheriffs, and we don't have enough housing for the people who live here already. Somebody mentioned the price of building materials. Where are we going to put these people? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Rose Wildy, and then we'll go to our online.
Hi, I'm Rose Wildy, and I live in Heather Buck's district, and I'm here with the Trans Alliance of Lane County, sharing my personal opinion. So we're asking Lane County to partner with us to address the current and historical oppression of trans people and immigrants, particularly immigrants of color. The phrase, "you cannot be neutral on a moving train," teaches us that when the conditions in our community result in unequal rights and opportunities, it's necessary to make specific investments of time, policy, and resources to assure that our inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are protected. Last I checked, all Americans share these rights laid out in our founding documents, but we don't all share the same religion, nor should another person's ideas about morality have any relevance on the investments and decisions of this public board. Furthermore, assuring rights for some whose rights have been violated does not take away rights from others. Trans people and immigrants are under direct assault of the federal government. Our trans-hating president has ordered public institutions to deny the existence of trans people. Under his directions, not only is the train moving, it's literally taking people to concentration camps. This is an administration that is already kidnapping people off the streets, sending them to remote concentration camps and even death camps in other countries. There can be no compromise with this regime. The obvious oppression of trans and immigrant people requires Lane County to oppose without hesitation the direct assaults on our people. They will not stop with these vulnerable populations. They will come for all of us. As soon as our basic constitutional rights are weakened, we all lose our shield. I'm furious, and so should all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now it's to our online queue. Jessica, do you have anyone online that wishes to give public testimony at this time?
Yes, we do have one person joining us with their hand already raised. Claire G., would you like to be on camera while you give public comment?
Sorry, I was muted. No, I do not want to be on camera.
Very well. You may start when you are ready.
Thank you. When an archaeologist comes across a human skeleton, they take on the task of identifying the remains. It is immaterial now what that individual may have thought about themselves during their lifetime. What remains is the stark yet beautiful reality of whether they were male or female. Attempting to give legal legs to a transitory vision about any other kind of gender opposes that truth. So I would just say, you know, people are free to choose whatever lifestyle they like, but to make a legal status, a sanctuary status, and the promotion of an alternate lifestyle that promotes those things is not a wise idea. There are lots of people in Lane County that don't subscribe to that. You know, I love those people, but they don't get the opportunity to make us pay for what they see themselves as. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. If that's all we have for public comment, we want to thank you for coming and using your morning to come and give us your opinions. We greatly appreciate it. We also have heard everything you've said over the last couple of months, and our staff is diligently working on the project as you've described. So as we keep going on our agenda this morning, we come to our item number 4, our consent calendar. All items listed here are routine by the Board of Commissioners and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If the discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent calendar and would be considered separately. Details to each item can be found in the blue links attached to the item description. I'm now looking for an enthusiastic motion for the consent calendar.
Chair Lovell.
Commissioner Farr.
I move passage of the consent calendar.
Thank you. A second? It's been moved by Commissioner Farr and seconded by Commissioner Buck. If there's no objections to the consent calendar, it passes 4-1 with Commissioner Senega absent in Washington, D.C. Thank you very much. Item number 5.
I think we need to vote.
We don't have to vote on a consent calendar. Technically, if there's no objections, it passes unanimously.
Have we done that before?
A couple times.
I don't think I've been here when that's happened.
It's technically correct, but I think the past practice has been you actually vote on the consent calendar. And if it's okay, I'd like to stick with past practice just because I like it on record.
All right, let's reverse. Back to item number 4. All those in favor, it's been motioned and seconded to approve the consent calendar for Tuesday, April 8th. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Passes 4-1 with
4-0, sorry, point of order. It's
4-0.
4-0.
Yes, I'm getting to that. Let me finish my statement, please. Thank you. It would pass 4-0 with 1 being absent. Thank you. Health and Human Services, item number 5, please. Good morning, Ms. Eve Gray. How are you this morning?
I am doing all right this morning.
Well, good deal. We have order 25040805 in front of us, and a matter designating the manager of the county's Developmental Disability Service Division as a Community Development Disability Program Administrator for the Lane County, and providing the delegation of that authority to the county administrator to execute all actions related to that. If you have any more to add, we'd love to hear it.
Sure. If you have any trouble understanding me, I can take my mask off. I am just trying to do my boss the justice of not getting him sick. So I am here to request 2 things. The first is relatively standard in that we have designated within a variety of our divisions state titles of authority for our division managers. Our public health administrator is Jocelyn Warren, who is the division manager of public health. Our community mental health provider is Pauline Gashohi, the division manager of behavioral health. And this is a similar state designation, the Community Developmental Disability Provider, which makes sense to designate to Carla Tazimal, who is our division manager and is the most expert in our county on this particular program. The other piece that I am asking for is a little bit less common for us, which is the ability for our CDDP, Carla, to accept state funds on behalf of the county. That will be dollar amounts that exceed my authority, exceed the county administrator's authority. However, there is no amount of discernment that happens when we go into the system and accept these funds. It is just a matter of logging in and saying yes, and whatever the legislature has assigned to this program, those funds we will receive. The program is completely self-contained. So if we do not have adequate funds, we have to adjust expenses. There's no risk that we could be accepting the wrong amount of funds and requesting help from the general fund or anything else, because it is a self-contained program that is delegated to us by the state. So just for me, I'm trying to manage the number of logins. I have 10 or 12 that I have to log into to accept things for various programs. And it would be wonderful to be able to delegate one of those. So that is what I am asking for today.
Great. Any questions for our Director, Eve Gray? Yes, Commissioner Farr.
Thank you. Director Gray, just a clarification. These are funds that we've typically accepted semi-automatically in the past and we're simply giving the authority to somebody more directly involved with seeing the request for the first time.
That is correct.
That's Carla Tazimal.
Yes.
Okay. And in the past, you have accepted the funds?
That is correct. I
And
have
then
been
support.
delegated to do that, yes.
Thank you, Director Ray. I'm ready to make a motion when you're ready, Chair.
Any other questions or comments? If not, proceed, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move Order 25040805 in the matter of designating the manager of the county's Developmental Disability Services Division as a Community Development Disability Program Administrator for Lane County, and providing the delegation of authority to the county administrator to execute all actions related to acceptance of state funding for county development disability services. And I'm presuming the latter request is enveloped in that motion.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Farr and seconded by Commissioner Trieger. Is there any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please indicate with an aye. Aye. Motion passes 4-0 with Commissioner Senega being absent. We have moved in the matter of designating the matter of the county's Developmental Disability Service Division as a Community Development Disability Program Administrator for Lane County and providing the delegation of authority to the county to execute all actions related to the acceptance of state funding for the County Development Disability Services per Board Order 25040805. Eve, feeling better, hopefully, and thank you very much for coming. Our next item is item number 6, our Community Justice and Rehabilitation item. And it looks like Erin Reynolds is coming to the podium, or the, oh, Denise. Oh, there you go, she's online. There you go. Sweet, so thank you. Who wants to introduce the item? This item is a matter of acknowledging and supporting the pursuant of the 2527 Justice Reinvestment Program grant funds.
Yes, good morning, Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. I'll introduce and then turn it over to our Chair, Reynolds. This is a standard item. We come before you every biennium to pursue the Justice Reinvestment Funds, but we would like to take this opportunity to give you a little bit of information about what the Public Safety Coordinating Council has been working on and what we're looking at in terms of dollar amount we're expecting for justice reinvestment this upcoming biennium. So, Chair Reynolds?
All right. Thank you, Denise. I appreciate that. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
All right, wonderful. Thanks for having me. So we're going to move on to is the slideshow showing as well, or is that just in your materials?
It will be showing. It is showing.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so as Denise said, we're primarily here for an action of support and delegation to the to our agency, to the Public Safety Coordinating Council, or the PSCC, for an item that is routine, as Denise said. But we first wanted to take an opportunity to say thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. And I will get to more specifics of the thank you in a minute, but we're going to go to the next slide and let you know that the PSCC has been doing some work over the last 2 years to become a little bit more modern and a little bit more human in our mission, vision, and values. So we have updated our vision to be a community where people belong and are safe, healthy, connected, and thriving. Next slide. Our mission has been updated. Before, we only had a mission, and we've updated the mission to be, as you see on the screen, to foster a safety and health network that strengthens relationships and communities' access to essential services. We make budgetary recommendations to the Lane County Board of Commissioners, advising them to responsibly use public resources to transform systems, create and maintain supportive programming, and address root causes of structural inequities. Moving on, our values, which we have more detail on, but these are our 4 core values that we are showing our action towards, that we act with integrity, we work towards justice, we work towards equity, and we collaborate, as is in our name. So next up, we have added a name for us that we feel better reflects the vision, mission, and values of the PSCC, and that is better language to share broadly with the community in which we all serve and the network that we work in. And that is the Community Safety and Health Council. So that is going to try and be what we start to use more regularly, but at a state level, especially since we're governed by an ORS, that we are still Lane County's local public safety coordinating council. And the very common terminology used, especially at the state level, and if we're talking, apples to apples across the state, we are the local LPSC, which is the LPSCC, which is really not a fun acronym. So next slide. As I said, thanks we were going to come to it here. Thank you, a genuine thank you. 2 years ago, you heard from the public safety group, and we came before you, and the level of funding at the state was in crises mode. Thankfully, we're not finding ourselves in that position exactly this year, but we just wanted to say 2 years ago, Lane County Board of Commissioners made a tremendous contribution, and we were able to fund at a less cut level of the service, or make funding recommendations to you at a less cut level. So we just wanted to say thank you. We have, as we've gone through and we're nearly at the end of the 2 years, identified $30,000 that we are able to make a recommendation to be moved into some transitional housing at sponsors. I know you've been briefed on this, and we had more information in the packet, but we just wanted to talk about the positive impact that $30,000 can do. Sponsors has 40 transitional beds that are not under contract with parole and probation, but they generally house parole and probation clients, and that's something that $30,000 can go towards. However, if that is not what you would like us to do, we would be open to the board's support to use it and repurpose if there was a higher need. And then I am going to turn it over to Denise to take us through the rest of this item. I want to take a moment to recognize Denise Walters. She works as the staff person for the PSCC, and she truly keeps us all moving in the right direction and making sure we get our business done in an excellent manner. So thank you, Denise, and thank you for the opportunity to speak forward. And I will turn it back over to Denise.
Thank you, Chair Reynolds. LPSC Chair Reynolds. So I'm going to speak, there's a lot of text up here, but to summarize, the justice reinvestment dollars that we are able to apply for are focused on property, drug, and driving related charges, which is usually a driving under the influence type of charge. The two main goals of this program, and I'm mindful of Mr. Bovet, who has a deep bench on this topic, so please chime in, sir, are to decrease prison utilization for these types of charges and convictions, and to reduce recidivism for folks with those charges and convictions. The justice reinvestment funds are actually several pots of money. There's a formula fund, there's a competitive fund. 10% of all funds the county is successful in obtaining, or a minimum of 10%, shall go to victim services providers, and we can use up to 3% of our awards for evaluation, rigorous evaluations, sometimes to the level of randomized controlled trials, but they've opened and broadened that spectrum to just rigorous evaluations. And I'll say a little bit more about that as we go through. To be eligible for these funds, you have to have established a process to assess those served, or processes. Lane County does that on a regular basis. Again, we have to serve those charged or convicted of property, drug, or driving offenses. This county has to accept short-term transitional leave from Department of Corrections facilities, which is 120 days typically. The programming has to help folks enroll into Oregon Health Plan. And we have to be working to embed equity throughout our county's criminal justice system. These are the funding pots amounts. So how we receive these funds of our formula share are based on the funds of another large part of money the county receives, are the Community Corrections Act grant and aid funds. And that's what largely funds parole and probation, those for supervising those who are returning back to the county from prison. The sheriff's office, the jail, the is intertwined with both of these funding sources, as you will see. And so the Department of Corrections takes 3 snapshots over a biennium, usually in the last year, and the formula share is based on the number of people you have on supervision. So last biennium for Lane County, if you recall, COVID had an impact on our criminal justice system. Between our criminal justice and health system, there are quite a few hydraulics that come into play, and we can talk about that at another time. But what that led to was a lower percentage share than we'd had in previous bienniums. So there's 2 factors. There's our percentage share as a county, and then there's how big the total pot of money at the state is. So last biennium, we had 8.77%. This biennium, the number has not been set in stone yet. The forecast for Lane County looks like our percentage share will be in the ballpark of 9.17%. I'll show you, it sounds fractional, but especially for our grant and aid dollars, that can add up to quite a bit of money. But for what this means for justice reinvestment, we expect about $4 million to be available to us, $4.3 million. The competitive column, there's a new provision on us this time. You used to be able to just make an ask for the competitive dollars, which are limited to downward departure programs, which keeps people from going to prison. This biennium, we can only ask for up to 5% more of what we were awarded last biennium. So that's up to $750,000 is what we might be able to expect from our competitive funds. So that's just a little tea leaf reading for the amount of funds we might have available to us for this programming in the 25-27 biennium.
Denise, are you able to take some questions on the fly? Or do you want to continue? Okay, Commissioner Jigger has a question. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Denise. Just a quick question. That 5% ceiling on the increase ask, is that, where did that come from? Who imposed that?
It came from the Criminal Justice Commission and the staff that, I think the Criminal Justice Commission had to gavel down on that. And some of that, they're trying to have their programs that they run be more similar in process and consistent. And so that was something similar to what they've done with the treatment courts and other programs under their purview. So, and I think it was also, sometimes you'd have one county asking for the whole kit and caboodle, and so I think it was also a way to try to have funds go farther and also create some space for counties who have not participated in the competitive fund to have an entry point.
So maybe a little helpful-ish on the equalizing, but not so much on the equity side potentially, since not all counties have the same sort of ratio of folks on downward departure and under supervision.
Or the programming available to offer downward
to serve them.
departures.
Yeah.
We have several in Lane County, and for us, it's gone to the 416 program, which refers to a statute that never passed. It's not the best name, but basically that's really a wraparound support on supervision, working closely with the district attorney's office for those whose charges are driven generally by substance use issues. So we've funded the 416 program with that. We've been successful in obtaining competitive funds for that program.
Thank you, Chair.
This graph is just showing you over several biennia with those, those percentage change of our formula share look small, but it can be, 1 FTE or more. So we'll take every 10th or 100th of a percentage point we will get. The pot has been increasing, which is a nice space to be in. But basically the governor's recommended budget for the justice reinvestment is, maybe a small cost of living increase. So hopefully we'll be able to sustain our level of service from 23 to 25. These are just some examples of the programs and strategies we fund with these dollars. So our parole and probation, justice involved women's initiative, a lot of our reentry services and transitional housing, cognitive behavioral therapy, motivational enhancement therapy. All the programming is to be evidence-based. So when we submit our program descriptions, we have to show how it's evidence-based and we meet all the eligibility criteria. There's our downward departure program, our 416, and we do a fair bit of pretrial electronic monitoring program support with this. there's a cost for electronic monitoring, and not everyone can pay for that as a fee. And so in order to make that program available to more people, we use some justice reinvestment money so folks can be on that program and stay in community, keep their jobs, access their support networks without being held in custody. Our reentry and prison reduction, I should say in fairness, this fund is what funds the staffing support for the local public safety coordinating council. So it's staffing the full body and all of our subcommittees and several of our other required work items. For victim services, we've prioritized, you have to be serving victims of crime, and we've prioritized person crimes. And so Kids First, Hopes and Safety Alliance, sexual support services, I'm gonna slow down, and SAYUSLA Outreach Services are the providers we have traditionally funded with these because of the rigor of the services they provide, the scope of services they provide, and the unique populations they serve. This historic mix was something these providers actually came up with themselves, and so they each get a certain percentage share of our victim services funds and are a critical part of our system, even though they don't always get heard about in the context of public safety. And this is just a little bit about the evaluation funds. Lane County is one of the few counties that pursues these dollars. We do very well with that. And so the Way Home, a sponsors program, is the one we have been funding with this. It's been extremely valuable in terms of showing the progress and the success of the program and being able to speak to that. And then we always like to have an evaluation in the wings because we never like to leave that money on the table because it just returns to the state and then they come up with a research project. Is a potential with the deflection program that I believe y'all have heard about. And Dr. Mike McCart has been doing an evaluation for that. So we have a program in the wings with the population that is a big, hopefully future potential part of our criminal justice safety system. This is a timeline that pretty much staff is the only one that cares about, but we're here before you today to meet the first part of our application process. It is a two-parter. The first part is all our program descriptions. Once legislature gavels down on the dollar amounts, then we submit the budget. We do that line by line. So that's the presentation.
Very good, thank you. Is there any other comments or questions from the board on this matter? Seeing none, very good.
Actually,
sorry, Commissioner Farr, go ahead.
Thanks for the presentation. Great slideshow. Call it a show, right? Just a quick question. You know, our criminal justice system is very complex, many different interworking parts, and we all are. And I'm not going to lose an opportunity to say this. We're all very concerned about the lack of basic policing service support for the Lane County Sheriff's Department. We heard this morning from somebody who called the sheriff and didn't get a response out in the county. So tying all of the things together and making sure that we're not foregoing support of our policing services by requesting funding for the victim services and reentry prison services, et cetera. Can you talk about that a little bit? About should we be pursuing policing services with some of the requests that we're making right now that you're asking us to approve today, or the complex integration of these services match the policing services to a point that they're indispensable?
Chair Reynolds, would you like me to make a first response and then? All right, so these funds, particular justice reinvestment funds, are a little bit upstream from the patrol question you're talking about. So the justice reinvestment eligibility are for those charged or convicted with these crimes. So patrol, law enforcement officer contact has already happened for the eligible use of these funds. So in that sense, patrol costs would not be an eligible use of justice reinvestment dollars.
That's the nugget right there. That while we are pursuing patrol and detective services and response for the Sheriff's Department, this is not the this is not a place that we could do so.
Correct.
Thank you.
And I will add, Commissioner Parr, thank you for the question, because everything we do is complex, and the different funding streams is always kind of the age-old question for government. We have a lot of needs, and we are, I would say, as a part of the Public Safety Coordinating Council, as well as the work that all of our partners do, especially through Lane Council of Governments, and then your department directors, and of course, your elected sheriff and his team. We're always looking for those funding opportunities. It's just in this case, the Justice Reinvestment Program grant dollars don't go to patrol.
And thank you, City Manager Reynolds, for that response. And thank you both for fielding my awkwardly asked question and giving a very succinct response. Thank you.
All right, if there's no other comments, I'm looking for a motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I move approval of Order 25-04-08-06 in the matter of acknowledging and supporting the pursuit of 2527 Justice Reinvestment Program grant funds, providing a signed letter of acknowledgement and support from the Board for all JRP funds, and delegating authority to the local Public Safety Coordinating Council staff to submit the online grant applications and to the County Administrator to execute any additional grant application documents.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Trieger and seconded by Commissioner Buck, as stated in the order 25040806, which I'll state clearly after the vote. Any discussion to the motions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify with an aye. Aye. Motion passes 4-0 with Commissioner Seneca being absent. Ms. Reynolds and Chair Reynolds and Ms. Walters, thank you so much for a great presentation. You're doing great work and helping a lot of people. We appreciate it very much. So thank you. All right, sounds good. We're on to item number 7, our Public Works item. It's a public hearing, and we're going to call our staff, Orrin and his staff, to the podium. But this is a first reading of draft ordinance number 2502 in the matter of amending Lane Code Chapter 15 Roadside Integrated Vegetation Management Policy to update certain practices for program efficiency and adaptability. Staff requests the second reading and hearing date to be set for April 22nd, 2025, time certain at 1:30 p.m. And on the podium, or on the desk, we have Mr. Orrin and Ms. O'Hara, so take it away with your presentation, please.
Well, you pretty much said everything we were planning to present today with that reading. My name is Orrin Schumacher. Thanks, Chair Lovell and Commissioner, for hosting us today. We, as part of our IVM program, present to the Board of Health annually with our annual report of what has gone on with the IVM program in general. During our last presentation last year, we had noted that we wanted to bring back some changes to the program that we have found to be somewhat constrictive and inefficient in our opinions. And so that's what this is about today. We mentioned that the IVM program is always meant to be an adaptable program, and yet it is put into code, which I think we noted code is not as adaptable and requires public hearings to make these modifications. So we're coming forward to you today to set that first reading and bring that to your attention. I think that otherwise covers our presentation, unless the board has questions for us.
Great. Any questions from the board? Any comments? Yes, Commissioner Farr.
Thank you. I'm not going to call you Senator. That's an old joke. I've spent time on road crews, repaving, and I've had a chance to see what vegetation does to our services. And I miss the slideshows that you give because we get to see illustratively what happens, the deterioration of the services that we continually spend money, effort, and lots of attention on preserving. This helps us preserve those road surfaces. And I know that the people who actually do the work, the ones scraping and laying the asphalt, the ones doing the surface work, are the ones who give you the information regarding what is happening with the roads and the driveways that we attach to roads. So I just wanted to say that while I missed the slideshow, I understand the nature of this, and I understand that it's a delicate balance between controlling vegetation as efficiently as possible, preserving our roadways, and making certain that we aren't exposing people to unnecessary hazards. And it's a delicate work that you do. Thank you for it.
Yes, thank you. I've been directed also, ask the staff, or the board rather, if there's any questions for the hearing on April 22nd. In the board packet, there's some changes that you've made to your signage and markings and that sort of thing, so would open that up as for a discussion as well, if there's any comments or questions from the board. All right, seeing none, do I hear a motion to approve the first reading and then set the second reading, please?
Chair, I'll move to approve the first reading and set the second reading and public hearing on ordinance number 25-02 in the matter of amending Lane Code Chapter 15, Roadside Integrated Vegetation Management Policy to update certain practices for program efficiency and adaptability, and setting, I don't have it here on the agenda, did you say 22nd at 1:30 time certain?
Thank you. Do I hear a second? Thank you very much. It's been moved by Commissioner Trieger and seconded by Commissioner Buck to move to approve the first reading of ordinance 2502 and to set the second reading and public hearing for April 22nd, 2025 at 1:30 time certain, Lane County Public Service Building. Do I have any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, let's call for the vote. All those in favor, please indicate by an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0 with Commissioner Sanaga excused absence. Very good. Thank you very much for your time and your attention. And we're going to see you on the next reading.
Appreciate it, Commissioner.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank
For
you.
the slideshow.
Okay, that brings us to item B, order number 25040807, in the matter of setting a public hearing for the surrender of 8 county roads and 3 county maintained roads to the city of Eugene. And Jay Blume is our extraordinary presentator right now. So Jay, take it away.
Thank you, Chair Lovell. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here this morning in the matter of setting a date for a public hearing for the proposed surrender of 8 county roads and 3 county maintained roads to the city of Eugene. The city has requested these surrenders of the roads pursuant to Council Resolution number 5435, approved by the City Council on February 24th, 2025. ORS Chapter 373 requires a public hearing to be set to allow public testimony to be entered into the public record prior to the approval or denial for the road surrenders by the board. Our office would like to propose a date for the public hearing be set for May 13th, 2025 at 11:00 a.m. time certain. The proposed date and time will allow the surveyor's office sufficient time to provide proper postings in the manner and timeframes required by law. Full reports of the subject roads will be provided during the public meeting. At this time, I'd like to turn this matter back over to you to consider the proposed date and time for these surrenders.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Boulay. Any questions or comments for our staff? Seeing none, this is going to go pretty smoothly, apparently. I'm looking for a motion then. Yes, Commissioner Trieger.
Thank you, Chair. I'll move approval of Order 25-04-08-07 in the matter of setting a public hearing for the surrender of 8 county roads and 3 county maintained roads to the city of Eugene. That public hearing to be held May 13, 2025 at 11 a.m. time certain.
Very good. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Good. Thank you very much. It's been moved by Commissioner Trieger and seconded by Commissioner Buck to approve the order to set a public hearing date, May 13th, 2025, 11 a.m. time certain, to consider the surrender of portions of 8 county roads and 3 county maintained roads to the city of Eugene. Any discussion of the motion? Yes, Commissioner Farr.
Thank you. As we look at the different, you sent us maps of each of these, the surrenders, and all seem quite appropriate to the city of Eugene. And we all are concerned always about the integration of patrol services, for instance, particularly along River Road. We've had tragedies recently where county roads and city roads intersect, and one of these is Wilkes Drive intersecting River Road. And I think that we're always looking forward to the future, that is, to making certain that safety, driving safety in particular, is one of our main concerns. And a number of these surrenders seem to be moving in that direction. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my observation on that.
Yes, I believe you're right, Commissioner Farr.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? I did notice one on my old home stomping ground of River Loop number 2, where I used to ride my bicycle on River Loop number 2. I remember that being a dirt road, so I appreciate the upgrades. All right, if there's any more discussion, we have moved and we have a second, and I'm calling for the vote. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0 with Commissioner Sanaga absent. We thank you so much, Mr. Boulay. Thank you for coming and for all your hard work. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. County administration's up on the next docket. Mr. Mokrzycki, I see you have some paper in front of you. You must have a few announcements, sir.
I have a couple here. The first one is a report back. Commissioner Farr, I believe, you asked to return with an informational report under County Administrator announcements on the 1% increase in transient room tax being collected, transient lodging tax, we call it, where the money lies, what are the future potential uses, general discussion where we are with that. So wanted to give you a brief update on that. We are collecting, it was actually a 2-point increase that the board made, and I'm sorry, I can't remember when that was, 2020?
December 21, I think it was.
It was after that, wasn't it?
I
thought it was 22.
It is when it was.
Yeah, I'll check the date because I don't want to be wrong. Is that what it is, Commissioner?
What was before, it was when we had a previous board. There were 2 commissioners here at the time. So it
was, yeah. I want to say it was 2022.
Oh, right, because.
Yeah, because the new commissioners took office in 23, in January of 23.
Yeah, now I'm, okay, I'm looking at.
Okay, I'll check on the date.
Everybody's foggy. Please clear the fog for all of us.
This was part of the conversation about improvements at the Lane Event Center and the discussion about a multi-use facility at the Lane Event Center. So the board approved that increase. The funds are, you actually, and it's the language for how the funds can be used are in the code, and it's also driven by state law. State law currently, and there's some restrictions around that. There are some, there's some legislation right now in the legislature contemplating potential alternative uses, and we'll see how that goes. But currently, we've used those funds for tourism-related facilities. The funds are being collected in a non-departmental special revenue fund under tourism. This is where all the TLT funds flow through. So it's separately accounted for in that non-departmental special revenue fund where TLT runs through. I'll read the language that the board has adopted in Lane Code for the use of transient lodging taxes for tourism-related facilities, that the revenues derived from the tax imposed by Lane Code 4.005.110C shall be used to fund, enhance, construct, and or maintain tourism-related facilities in Lane County or as directed by the board through the annual budget process in accordance with ORS 320.300. And that latter piece is really important, that in accordance with ORS, which states because we've always used it for tourism-related facilities, it needs to be used that way. So that, I think, is, so those funds are being collected. The board really indicated during the time that you had intended for those funds to be used for improvements, tourism-related improvements at the Lane Event Center. Our sort of working plan has been, as we've been working on the long-term vision, and you had a work session several weeks ago with the consultants we brought on board that are in that community engagement process for the long-term vision of the Lane Event Center, that we want to complete that process and see what that vision encompasses, and then think about what the potential uses for those funds may be in the future to achieve that long-term vision. Does that answer the question, Commissioner?
It does, in fact. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mokrzycki. And since it was my request regarding whenever it was, well, whenever, that's fine. But thank you for bringing that forward. It's important that we keep track of it and that we do abide by state law. We had significant changes in the 2003 legislature, which I was a part of, that affected the way we're able to use TRT today. So thank you.
That's right. And I think, Lane County has a long history of being diligent about the use of the resources. I think because we've had such a scarcity of resources that we collect locally. We talk about how 60% of our budget comes from state and federal funds. Only 40% of our budget is local taxes and fees. And because of the limitations on those revenues, we've been really careful and diligent about how we spend that. And I think about even the state and federal dollars we receive for the American Rescue Plan Act funds. We didn't go and spend that money right away. We were thoughtful in the opioid funding. We've been collecting the opioid funds and been really thoughtful about, let's make sure we evaluate all the potential options. So I think that the board has indicated a desire to do that related to these TLT funds. Say, let's not have a rush to go spend these dollars. Let's make sure that we have a plan, a thoughtful plan, particularly with the Lane Event Center, long-term vision, before we commit those dollars. So I think we're in a good position there.
And, you know, when Commissioner Bozovich was involved as a commissioner, we found creative ways to use some TRT for public safety. And I think we've probably exhausted all that possibility, but it's something that to always keep an eye on. How can we make certain that the intention of TRT matches how we're able to respond to the visitors that we attract in Lane County using our sheriff's department and the public safety system. So, thank you.
Yeah, and I will just add a note to that, that there are other counties that historically, there was a law that went into effect, I don't remember all the dates on this, but there is a, under the state rule, under the state laws for use of transient lodging tax, you can, if you have at a certain period in history used up to 30% of the TLT for general government purposes, you can do that. We sort of missed the boat on that because we've always used our transient lodging tax for tourism-related facilities. And so the law also says that if you've always used it for this purpose, you need to. So there is some conversation that's happening in the legislature about some flexibility around that, and we love local flexibility, and particularly around I will say this, you know, in Oregon, I teach the history of counties in Oregon class to the county college group of newly elected county officials through the Association of Oregon Counties. And one of the things we talk about in that class is that Oregon has a history of providing a lot of policy flexibility to local governments. So local county governments in Oregon are really strong in terms of their ability to set local policies and laws in terms of self-governance. But we are very weak in terms of our ability to generate and direct local resources. There's a lot of restriction around the revenues that we can collect, the revenues that we can adjust, and how we can spend those revenues. So I think it's just an important thing to understand about sort of how local governments and counties in particular function in Oregon. So this is an ongoing conversation that certainly we'll have, and I just want to point out that there is conversation happening in the legislature about anything we can do to create more flexibility for the use of those of funds at the local level, particularly for general government and in our case, public safety services that are critically in need of additional resources.
Great, thank you, Mr. McCarthy. Thank you, Commissioner Farr, for bringing up the point about public safety. Also, the point about those delay in us really making considerable, reasonable and conscientious decisions about that 2% is also our shoulder season, our winter season about economic development. That's also a big, very strong conversation within the Travel Lane County community that we want to keep ahead of us as well. You know, we're just getting out of that shoulder season now, coming into spring. So, you know, hotels tend to book up, but, you know, over the winter, we tend to have to lay folks off and restaurants try to struggle. So to build that market and that economic sector backed up is also a priority of what we're doing as well. So thank you for all the reminders. All right, well, look.
Two other quick,
yes.
sorry, I'll be real
quick.
You got
two more? Go ahead.
Yeah. I just wanted to, because there was a public comment this morning about the Public Safety Funding Task Force and funding for the sheriff and the DA and other public safety services, also about land management fees. So I thought I'd just provide a brief update. We have what we're planning to be the final meeting of the Public Safety Funding Task Force that is just now about a year. They've been meeting for about a year. So it has its one more meeting scheduled for April 18th. We have a draft report that is being developed. The intention is for the task force to review that final draft that will come to the board ultimately with recommendations at that meeting on the 18th or prior to. And my hope is that we will bring to the board, I'd say within the next 2 months, ideally, in my mind, in May, sometime in May, depending on the calendar with the budget committee work that you have, possibly May 20th. That was a date that we were sort of contemplating that we would, but give or take, just depending on schedules and everything, it may happen mid-May or hopefully, if not then, right after Memorial Day. So we're within, I'd say, a few weeks of having those recommendations brought to you. A lot of work that's gone into that. I'm not going to talk more about it. I just want to share that update with you. And then the comment was made about did you have a question or comment?
If I could, just.
Commissioner Trigger, go ahead.
On the, just sort of as a reminder or a refresh, since it's been a year, which is the right amount of time for a scope of a task force like that. But I made that request of the formation of that task force immediately on the heels of the election of the renewal of the public safety levy, precisely because we had time. So I just want to remind all of us that whatever that report shows us, at least the intention originally in the setting up of the task force was in recognition that we have structural problems with a system, two really big words and things that take a lot of time and thought. And so just this is one of those, sometimes I feel more urgency and sometimes I feel like, yeah, this is right on track, even though it's been a year, and I'm imagining just from the few meetings I've dipped in and out of to watch some of the recommendations will take a long on-ramp to set up should we adopt them. They'll take a long on-ramp to realize the benefits of them. And the idea was to really consider those things as they may coincide with a potential renewal of another 5-year levy or not, depending what comes to us through these recommendations and all the other surrounding context and conditions that we face in terms of the budget. So just a reminder, like a year is perfectly reasonable, and that there may be actions that we take as a result or recommendations that we adopt that will also take quite a bit of time, and that doesn't mean none of us senses the urgency around the challenges with public safety funding.
Yeah, and my hope would be that we spend the better part of this summer and early fall doing additional evaluation, analysis, public surveys around, where the board would like to go with that. So yes, we're going to have additional work to do. The job will not be complete when they're going to make recommendations and sort of give you some ideas of where they think maybe we should, begin to steer the conversation, but there's going to be a lot of work to do after that.
Thank you.
One thing here real quick. Commissioner, thank you for reminding us about that year-long commitment. I just wanted to tell the Public Safety Task Force folks, they have some serious skin in the game over a year, and we just want to make sure that we as a board appreciate all the work they've been doing and all the hours they've spent and the hard work and the thought process and all that. So hats off to all those guys, and they're not even coming down to the home stretch yet, but they're almost there, so.
Yeah, and I thank you, Chair, and I'll relay that certainly to the task force members at the meeting on the 18th, and you can relay it directly when they present to you and those who are here when they do that, hopefully around the May timeframe. Last thing was just to mention the Land Management Division fee conversation that was brought up under public comment. Just say, as you recall, I suggested and the board agreed that let's take a look at actually how we could smooth out the impact of those increases by using the reserve fund that is in place for the Land Management Division. And so that is happening. And those recommendations and options are being put together for the board. And I can't remember exactly the date, if it's April 22nd, but it's coming here within the next, I think, month or so for the follow-up conversation on that discussion. All right, that's what I have.
This afternoon.
It's this afternoon. It's coming up so quick. It's this afternoon.
Yeah,
I was thinking, did I miss something too? I was checking my papers.
Is that what we're doing?
Well, you're going to have to.
Yeah, it's the second time
meetings that you'll have to have an additional action. But thank you.
All right, that means nobody skips out of the afternoon meetings. All right.
Yeah.
Just
So
we
we'll
got
have
that
more
straight.
conversation about obviously this afternoon about the specifics on that. Thank you.
All right, super. Is there anything else for the good of the order before we close out our morning session, before we recess? Before we recess, I want to read us into executive session. We have a need for that, and we will meet in executive session at 10:50. So the Board of County Commissioners will now meet in one exec session. This session is to consider information or records that are exempt by law from public inspection. This executive session is held pursuant to ORS 192.6602F, which allows the Board of Commissioners to meet in executive session for the purposes listed. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are precluded from attending. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. Members of the news media are not allowed to tape, video record, or otherwise record in an executive session, and verbatim notes are prohibited. No decision may be made in an executive session. After this executive session, we will return to public session at 1:30 this afternoon here in Harris Hall. We are recessed.